Sean, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, you bet.
So, did you have any trouble getting here from Oklahoma?
No, actually, I know you're a Kansas City native yourself, so we just sort of barely missed the big onslaught that I know we had friends in Salina, Kansas, and Kansas City that got pretty hammered by the storms, but we missed it. It stayed a little north of us. Cold and about 40-mile-an-hour wind out of the north was about all we had to deal with this week.
You've got a big project coming up in Oklahoma City. You guys just got the RFP for, what is it, the 23rd Street Armory? Is that what it's called?
Yep. It's the National Guard Armory building that the state of Oklahoma owns. It's in Midtown Oklahoma City, about a block or two away from the state capitol building, which is a great move for us. We currently are in our second production facility, and it's in sort of an industrial area outside of the urban core, and we moved there because at the time that we needed to move there, we didn't have the right to sell direct to consumer. We had no taproom rights. We didn't even have sampling rights at the time, and didn't see a foreseeable future at that time where we would have those rights. We were able to gain those rights the last couple of years, and some additional rights for craft brewers as well through our legislative work. And so now is really a great time for us to move back to our final home in the urban core, and that's what the 23rd Street Armory project is all about.
What makes you guys sort of bullish? Because, I mean, we see so many headwinds. There's all this doom and gloom talk, and, I mean, it's more than talk. I mean, we see it manifest. But, I mean, what makes COOP bullish at this point?
I think I could nerd out for 5 minutes. I'll try to nerd out for about 30 seconds. The reality is that in Oklahoma, we're a very immature craft beer market. A lot of that has to do with the laws that just changed that were very prohibitive to the growth of local breweries. We know what local means in local markets. We know our role in our local market in Oklahoma. And now with the new laws that have gone into place that allow us to, for the first time, sell in grocery stores and convenience stores and drug stores, where before we were exclusively in the liquor channel, we're really bullish on Oklahoma. We're really bullish on local growth. The reality is, you look at the data, and Oklahoma brewery production is literally 20% of the national average of states. We're at 0.6 gallons per 100,000 21 plus consumers of local production. The national average is about 3. If we can just regress to the mean as a state now that we've got these new laws in place, you're talking about some pretty significant growth opportunities. So we think there's a ton of runway in Oklahoma. We think the right time for us is now to invest in our local market, in our home market. We distribute in 5 other states, and those are great states for us. But like I said, we know what our role is in Oklahoma, and we know that by recapturing this historic building in Midtown Oklahoma City and renovating it and creating a unique experience and a real destination brewery for Oklahoma, that's, I think, the long-term sort of value for us.
So was it October when this law change went into effect? Okay.
Yeah.
So what have you learned in that, month that we've had, month and a half since that time?
I think the first thing that we learned is that there was a tremendous amount of pent-up consumer demand for craft beer in Oklahoma that just wasn't able to be satiated because of the way that the market worked, because we could only be sold in liquor stores, we could only be sold Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. There are just tons of restrictions. Literally, Oklahoma made it difficult in a lot of ways to get craft beer and wine. And so to have those restrictions taken off of all of us, and to get access to those markets, to really just for consumers to have the convenience to get the product, has just unleashed that consumer demand. Now, right now, the challenge is keeping up with the supply necessary to meet the consumer demand. We've seen, nearly 2x increase in our package side in October and November just in Oklahoma alone. And we were able to invest on the front end with some new packaging equipment to sort of meet that expected demand, but it's still a challenge.
I imagine it is.
Yeah.
So do you have the capacity to sort of keep up in the meantime?
We do. So we invested in a new high-speed CFT canning line that's got us up to 300 or so cans per minute, as opposed to before where we were, down in the double digits, the mid-double digits in a lot of cases. So we were able to make that investment before the law changed, and we had 2 years to get ready for this. Everybody had 2 years to really get ready for this, from the time we voted to pass the new law to the time it got implemented. So we were able to do that. We were able to invest in a couple of 240-barrel tanks that are primarily for our flagship, our F5 IPA, which is about 55% of what we sell in Oklahoma and out-of-state markets. So we were able to make those investments in the capacity side to get ahead of this law. It hasn't always been easy. It's been a difficult, there have been difficult challenges with our distributor, with production, with the retailers in the first couple of months, but there's a ton of runway, and we're pretty excited about what's going on in Oklahoma.
What's sort of the feedback that you're getting so far from retailers?
Yeah. So the retail feedback has been tremendous so far. I will tell you, we had a challenge leading up to October, really convincing those retailers that what the role that local breweries played in the local markets at retail. And so what we have in Oklahoma is we don't have a lot of chains. We don't have a Kroger or an H-E-B or an Albertsons own chain. They're very local. There's a couple of locals in Oklahoma City, local in Tulsa. Yeah, Walmart's there, and Walmart kind of dominates grocery. But the point there is that there just wasn't a lot of sort of historic experience from the buyer side at retail with local craft versus national craft. And so they were really tepid about investing in local very early on. Well, the numbers have come in and the sales are flowing through, and now there's just this rapid race to expand into more and more local, only about 2 months into this law change. And so the response has been great, but the response before the law change really was, we'll kind of see how this plays out, and now they're seeing how it's playing out, and their hunger for more local is really insatiable.
And you're working with a wholesaler for the first time, correct?
Yep.
So what's the learning curve there?
Well, I mean, we signed with Republic National, and so Republic National really only has beer operations in New Mexico and Georgia before Oklahoma, which is now their third beer operation. There have been some learning curves and some challenges in working with them. I was telling somebody earlier, through the month of October, our brand represented their number one brand in the warehouse from a unit perspective. But it was, number 6 or number 7 from an actual dollar perspective, which is great. They're very happy about that. But the challenge that presents for the distributor is they've got a significant number of units moving out, generating a decent amount of sales volume, but there are other brands that they get higher rings on, and so they're just trying to balance how they kind of operate, and that's a little wonky insider ballish stuff, but
that's why we're here.
Yeah, I mean, those are the challenges that we all face as brewers, especially working in the 3-tier system. We've had experience with that in 5 other states, but really it's been difficult. But we have a willing partner in Republic National that's put the effort in and really has sort of sweat equity into this partnership.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, it seems like our 10 minutes are never enough. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say, though,
sure.
One of my favorite things you told me is our goal is not to be New Belgium to the rest of the world. Our goal is to be COOP to Oklahoma. That was awesome.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. Good to see you, man.
Great to see you.
Anytime.
I'll see you back in there.
Perfect.
So
thanks.
Next up, we've got Mark Reith, owner of Atwater Brewery.